Good morning, dear students. Welcome back to our lesson, that is matter around us pure. So this is the last topic of our lesson which we are going to discuss now. After it the lesson would get finished, and from tomorrow onwards we are going to talk about in-text question and exercise. And after that, whatever the worksheets I have provided to you all, that worksheets you are going to solve. Okay. So here we are going to talk, means any matter is divided, means based on its chemical composition, any matter is divided into two pure forms, okay, or any pure substance is divided into two pure forms, and that is elements and compounds. That is elements and compounds. So first we will talk about elements. What is meant by elements? Element is the basic form. It is the basic form of a pure substance which cannot be broken down, by any simpler chemical reactions. So this is the basic definition of the element. It is the basic form of a pure substance which cannot be broken down by any simpler chemical reactions. Means elements cannot be separated. It is the pure form of a matter. Okay. So these elements cannot be separated by the simpler chemical reactions. Okay. So now we will talk about the elements and how these elements is classified. Okay. So before going ahead, first I would like to introduce who has introduced the term element. Okay. So Robert Boyle is the first scientist who discovered or who established the term element, and in the year of 1661. Robert Boyle is the first scientist who introduces the term element in 1661. After it, Antoine Lavoisier, a French chemist, he has also given a proper established definition of the element, which just now I explained you. Element is the form of a pure substance which cannot be broken down by a chemical reaction. That definition, proper definition, is established by Antoine Lavoisier. But the first scientist who has introduced to us with the element definition, that is Robert Boyle. And after Robert Boyle, the Antoine Lavoisier, a French chemist, who has introduces or proper definition of the element is given by the Antoine Lavoisier. So now student, what we are going to do, we are going to talk how these elements are classified. So elements are basically classified into three forms. What are those? Elements are classified into metals, non-metals, and third type is metalloids. Metals, non-metals, and the metalloids. So here in this lesson you have only introduction of the lesson, what is meant by metal, non-metal, and the metalloids. We are going to talk about some basic properties or physical basic properties of metals and non-metals. But whenever you will go in class 10, you will have a specific lesson of this lessons, means physical properties of the metals and non-metals, as well as chemical properties of the non-metals and the metals, as well as how these metals and non-metals combine with each other, what kind of substances are forming, and what happens when metals are react with oxygen, with the water, with any other compounds, what exactly happen. That means that chemical reactions we are going to talk in detail next year. But now just I would like to give an introduction which you have actually learned in class 8 too. So what is the metal? See, various things we see around us, okay, which are made up of the metal. You bring your tiffin in the metallic box, that is stainless steel, which is one kind of alloy. So you will be you will get acquisition of this all things, alloys and all, next year. But here then too I would like to introduce you, alloy is a mixture which you have seen in our lesson, that is mixture, homogeneous mixture. Alloy is a homogeneous mixture of either two metals or two non-metals or metal and non-metal. So alloy is a one kind of mixture. So various things we use, iron in our day-to-day life, right? Aluminium foil we use. So these all are the metals. So generally, what is the basic property of the metal? Metals are generally into the solid state. Okay, the physical state of all the metal is a solid state. But there is one exceptional case. There is one metal which is in the liquid form at a room temperature. Can you guess which is that? That is mercury. What is that? Mercury. Where it is used, students, do you know? Which is used in the thermometer. Okay. So this is mercury, which is called as a metal. This is metal, and which is always into the liquid form at the room temperature. So first basic property of all the metal is metals are always into the solid state, except few exceptional cases. Okay. So first property is solid state. Second, metals are very good conductors of heat and electricity. Okay. Good conductors of heat and electricity too. Okay. Why these are good conductors? That also we will learn in chemical properties, because metals are always electropositive in nature, because they are always electron donator, means they are always donating electrons. As they are donating electrons, they have one extra proton with them, and so that they are always electropositive in nature, means they have ions to exchange, so that these metals are always good conductors of heat and electricity. Okay. Now the third property, metals have high melting and boiling point. High melting and boiling point. Why these are having high melting and boiling point? Because metals are in solid state, right? Metals are in the solid state, and to melt this solid state or to bring that solid state into the liquid state, it requires a large amount of energy in the form of heat. Okay, and so that metals are especially have a high melting and the boiling point. So this is the third property. And some simpler properties of the metals, you can also say metals are lustrous, means if you will see the metals have a shine, have a bright on it. Okay, have a luster on it. So metals are lustrous, right? Metals are sonorous, means which create a ringing sound. Okay, so your school bell is always made up of a metallic object, right? Or is it made up of the wood or any other substance? Otherwise it cannot ring. So metals are sonorous, means what? They can create a ringing sound. Okay, so metals are lustrous. This is the fourth property we can say, lustrous, then sonorous, and having a high density, means these are dense, because the physical state of matter, because solid state of matter, we have seen solid, liquid and the gaseous state. In the first topic we have seen all types of the states, that is solid, liquid and the gaseous state. So metals are always have a density, then sonorous and lustrous. Now fifth one property is metals are malleable. What is meant by malleable, students? Malleable and ductile. Means if we will hammer them, then we can bring it into thin sheet. Okay? If we will hammer the metal, that metal we can convert it into thin sheet. And what is meant by ductility? We can draw a thin wire from it. So all the metals. So which is the most malleable and ductile metal? Can you guess? Is gold. Gold is the most malleable and the ductile element or the metal. Okay. So metals are malleable and the ductile. These are some properties, some common properties, that is solid state, All the metals mostly are in the solid state. Then good conductors of heat and electricity. Most of the metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Metals have high melting and the boiling point because of its state, solid state. Okay. And fifth one, metals have a luster on it. Metals are sonorous, okay, and metals have a high density. And later on, metals are malleable and ductile. What are the examples of metals, students? Copper, which we see around us, copper, iron, gold, and silver. Okay, so these are some basic metals which we use in our day-to-day life. Now we will talk about another type of element, that is non-metal. What is meant by non-metal? Non-metals are exactly opposite to the metals. These non-metals are not, means very less they are in the solid state. Most of the non-metals are into the liquid state or in the gaseous state. So first property is they are all, means they can get in all three forms. Okay, bromine water. You might be knowing bromine water is there. Means non-metals are mostly getting in all three states of matter, but more they are found in liquid state and into the gaseous state. So this is the first property of the non-metal, that non-metals are always found in all three states of matter, but mostly into the liquid form and into the gaseous form. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are not good conductors of heat and electricity like metals. So this is also second most important property, that non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. But there is one exceptional case, that is carbon. Okay, carbon is a non-metal and carbon has three allotropes, that is diamond, coal, sorry, diamond, coal and graphite. So out of it there is one graphite, okay, which is used in your pencils. You are using students pen and pencil. So in the pencils there is one graphite rod. That graphite rod is made up of carbon, okay, that is the allotrope of carbon. But this graphite can conduct electricity. So this is the exceptional case of the non-metal, that non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity, but only allotrope of carbon, that is graphite, can conduct electricity. There are three allotropes of carbon, that is diamond, graphite and Buckminster Fullerene. And this Buckminster Fullerene is made up of 60 carbon atoms, that we will learn in class 10. You will have a specific lesson of carbon. So in that we will learn. So this is the second property, that this means non-metals are always poor conductors of heat and electricity. Then third is they are not malleable and ductile too. Means we cannot, they are brittle. Okay, they are brittle. If they are in solid state, they are brittle, because they are in all three forms, no, solid state, liquid state and the gaseous state. Then if the liquid and the gaseous state would be there, then how we can get them, we can malleable and ductility, how they can possess the properties. Okay, as well as their melting and boiling point is low, as they are mostly found into the gaseous state and the liquid state. So their melting point and boiling point is low. They do not have luster, only except iodine. Iodine is the crystals. Okay, so these iodine are the crystals which have a luster on them. So there are some exceptional cases, otherwise they do not have luster on it. They have a less density and they are non-sonorous. Okay, so here are some examples we use for breathing, that is oxygen, which is favorite. Without it we cannot survive, will come under non-metal. O2, which is written always in the form of molecular form, that is O2. Then carbon, right? Carbon, oxygen, these all are coming into the non-metal. Okay, so this is about all about non-metal. Now we will go for the metalloid. What is meant by metalloid? What is meant by metalloid? Okay, now we will talk about metalloids. What is meant by metalloids? These metalloids are given into our modern periodic table by the zigzag line. If you have a look on the modern periodic table, in the modern periodic table there is one zigzag line, and that zigzag line possesses the metalloids. So what is the proper definition of the metalloid? Sorry, slip of tongue, I said. Metalloids means what? The metalloids are the elements which exhibits the properties of both metal and the non-metal. Means which behaves like a metal also sometimes and like a non-metal also. So such kind of elements are considered to be metalloids. And the examples are boron, then silicon, germanium, polonium, tellurium, various are there, 7 to 8 are there element which will be considered as a metalloid. So metalloid are the elements which exhibits the properties of metals as well as non-metals, and examples are boron, silicon, germanium and the polonium. Now compound. So this is the another form of a pure substance. Elements we have seen, metal, non-metal and the metalloids along with its property and the examples too. Now we will talk about compounds. What is meant by compounds? Compounds are formed when the metal and non-metal combine together, or non-metals also can be chemically combined together in a fixed proportion, but the proper condition for it is in a fixed proportion. So fixed proportion, whenever the two elements or the two metals or two non-metals are combining with each other, forms a compound. Okay, so proper definition is a substance composed of two or more elements. See here we can take example, carbon, which is non-metal, oxygen, which is non-metal. So carbon means carbon and oxygen, which are two non-metals, are combined together, chemically combined together. Can we separate now around us? We breathe out carbon dioxide. Can we separate easily carbon and oxygen? Easily, is it possible for us? Or we can take example of a water. H2O is the chemical formula for the water. We drink water which is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen has completely different properties. Oxygen has completely different properties, but when this chemically combined together, it has completely different properties because it has formed now compound. First it was simple element. So hydrogen possesses absolutely different properties, oxygen possesses absolutely different properties, but when it chemically combined together in a fixed proportion, in a proper proportion, then it forms a compound which possesses absolutely different properties. Understood, students? So here hydrogen is a non-metal, oxygen is a non-metal. Mg, we can take here example. Mg means magnesium, which is metal, and oxygen is a non-metal. So here in the definition is given is a substance composed of two or more elements chemically combined with one another in a fixed proportion. Always carbon will be one atom and oxygen will have two. Why it is like this? We'll study in higher classes, because you will have to learn, or in the our third chapter only we are going to learn why carbon is only one and oxygen are always two, why hydrogens are two and oxygen is only one, or why MgO is written like this. So we will learn about it, and these are some examples of a compound. Any examples you can take. In my previous lecture, by teaching you physical properties and chemical properties, I have explained you NaCl. Here you can talk about sodium is a metal, chlorine is a non-metal. So metal and non-metal combine together to form a ionic compound. Okay, so this is ionics. There are two kinds of compound, ionic compounds and the covalent compounds. So we will learn in detail in higher classes what kind of compounds are getting. Okay students, so we are have quite acquisition for the mixtures and for the compounds. So now we will talk about some basic differences of mixtures and the compounds. You are knowing, but we will write the differences between mixtures and the compounds, which is actually given in your textbook also of lesson number 2, that is matter around the sphere. It is given properly. But then too I would like to explain you the proper differences which are taking place into the mixtures and the compound. Students, first mixture, elements or compounds just mix together from a mixture and no new substance is formed. Okay, so whenever the two substances are mixing just together, then no new substance is formed. Here I have explained the same in a physical change and a chemical change to you also. So whenever the elements of the substances are mixing together, then no new substance is formed. While in a chemical reaction, the new substance is formed. We can take example of a carbon dioxide. See, carbon plus O2 forms CO2. Okay, elements react to form a new compounds. Carbon and oxygen react with each other to form a carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has absolutely different properties than carbon and oxygen. So new substance is formed into the compounds. This is the basic property. Then a mixture has a variable composition. It's up to us. See, if I want to prepare a lemon juice, I can increase the composition of a lemon juice, sorry, lemonade. If I want to prepare, then I can take a variable composition. Means if whatever I want, that much composition of the lemon juice I can take. I can take according to the composition of water, sugar, salt, whatever I want I can increase, and it will taste all. Okay, but I can separate the taste even. Okay, means that mixture will have a sour taste also, sweet taste also, and watery taste also. Why? Because this is a mixture, and in a mixture possesses the properties of all its constituents. So what is this? A mixture has a variable composition. Even we can take a mixture of chivda. We like, it's a favorite snack for everybody. We can add in a variable amount, whatever the component we like more, we can add in a more quantity. Okay, because this is mixture. While compounds are always in a fixed proportion. If we want a water, if we see a very small particle of the water, then in the small particle of the water, hydrogen always will have a 2, means it will be in a molecular form. Hydrogen means hydrogen's 2 atoms will be there, while oxygens there will be always 1 atom. Carbon dioxide also, carbon is 1 and oxygens are always 2. So it is in the fixed proportion. Okay. Now next, shows properties of all components. Again the example of a lemonade. Lemonade will taste sour, sweet, watery, or if any other thing we will add, it will give a taste of all the components which we have added in it. While in a compound, it will have totally, carbon dioxide will have or water will have absolutely different properties than hydrogen and oxygen. While carbon dioxide also will have a different properties than carbon and oxygen. It will exhibit completely different properties than its compound. Okay, so this is the new substance has totally different properties than its components. The next, components can be separated by simple physical processes. See, in mixture, and how can we separate the mixtures? We have seen, students, various types of methods we have seen: crystallization method, evaporation technique, centrifugation technique. These all methods of separation of mixture are considered to be physical processes. So mixtures can be separated by simple physical processes. But to separate the components of the chemical or a compound, we have to follow chemical reaction only, because these are combined together chemically. So to separate the component, if we want a separate component again back, then we have to follow a chemical process or electrochemical process. Electrochemical process means what? Hydrolysis, you are knowing, students. H2O, water and oxygen can be separated by hydrolytic decomposition reaction. Separation of chemicals means decomposition reaction. So decomposition reaction we have to follow to separate the compounds. If we want to combine them, we have to follow combination reaction. If we want to separate them, then decomposition reaction. There are 3 kinds of decomposition reaction: thermal decomposition reaction, electrochemical decomposition reaction, and the photolytic decomposition reaction. So these also you will learn in your class 10. So here I have completed, I have done with all the points, difference between mixtures and compound, and here I have completed the whole lesson, that is matter around us pure.